Hello, welcome to part 2 of this two-part guide to the Kaplan K+ Tools online learning platform. In this part, again, we've gone to the URL here. I've entered my password and username, and we're going to go in. Here we are. As I explained yesterday, because I have a teacher's access to this site, I have all the levels. But a student would have only one level, the level which corresponds with the level of their main class for their lessons in the school. So let's imagine that the student's level is lower intermediate. So we click on here, and you will see that it opens with 2 weeks of material, this week, and on the left, last week, the previous week. You'll see here the title is Lower Intermediate Blue B Nature. Low Intermediate is the level, blue is the book, B means it's the second half of the book. Last week you can see A was the first half, and the topic for the week is nature. Last week the topic was possessions. So all students have access to this: Vacation English, General English and Intensive English. In here you can see there are lots of exercises practicing the language which is explored and practiced in the books for the same week and also in the lesson. So it's reinforcing, recycling and revising what students are doing during their lessons. Good, okay. So more of that in this list here. Let's just go back to the course, lower intermediate. Grammar, vocabulary, reading, and also listening. So every week there is a reading activity, extended reading, related to the same topic of the unit, and the same for listening. There is also every week a writing assignment. This is for students who would like extra writing practice. Our teachers do limited amounts of writing practice in class, but generally students prefer oral communication in the lessons. However, some students do want to develop their writing skills while they're here. So this is a very good way for them to do this. Each week there is a preparation task. In this case, we have a text here which has some language choices for students to make, reinforcing the vocabulary and the grammar structures that have been covered in the class. But also this serves as a model for students when they come to do their own writing. And the assignment itself is at the bottom. In this case, students are asked to write about a holiday. They have a structured activity with some different steps guiding students or scaffolding the writing process. At the writing stage, which comes here, students would write their answer. Let's see. Where are we? Students would write their answer, and when they've completed it, they would submit it, and it goes directly to their teacher. Their teacher can then comment on it, give some feedback, and return it to the students. So it's a very good way to help students become independent learners. This is a big focus of our work here, to try and encourage all our students to become independent learners, to take responsibility for their own learning. So students who arrived this week have the possibility to review what was done last week, which is also quite important. Some students enjoy that. They don't want to feel that they've missed out, particularly on what was done last week. The other thing that I'd like to show you is K plus Extra. Now that can be found here. It can also be found, if we go back to the students' landing page, so it can also be found at the bottom of this list of courses here, K plus Extra. So students can click on this, or this sidebar at the top. Now K plus Extra is only available for students studying on a general English or intensive English course, not a vacation English. So this is really what differentiates the general English from the vacation English. It's full access to K plus tools, including Extra. We're going to go into this. There are three elements to it, three components: grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Let's look at vocabulary. For each of these, there are 5 levels available. So students can go from level 1, which is elementary, all the way up to level 5 here, which is advanced. Let's go back to low intermediate, just to give an idea. So in here you'll see all the modules. Remember, this is vocabulary, so these are all the modules within the vocabulary component at A2 low intermediate level. The blue bars here simply indicate which of these modules have been done before. I've obviously used these to, at least in part, to demonstrate the site to people in the past. Clicking on here, you'll find in each of these modules there are 3 tabs, which are Learn, Practice, and Test. In the Learn tab, you will find the input, the new language. There's a description of what students are going to learn, so it's very structured, and you can see here the number of slides in this particular tab. So clicking on here, the relevant language is introduced and explained and defined. Little practice activities here, etc. You can check at any time. Okay, so I need to complete it, etc. You can continue here. It's quite easy to use, I would say. It's interactive in a sense. It's quite fun to use. It's visual, uses multimedia as well, as we'll see in a minute. So this is through the Learn tab. Having completed that, students can look at the Practice tab. This does exactly what you would expect. It gives further practice of the language that was introduced under the Learn tab. This also includes reading, listening, and, as in this case, in fact, video. So this is a prediction activity. We won't go through it, but it's a little video, and students are asked to predict the response, and then they can listen to the actual response and check their predictions, etc. So there's more of this. Okay, so we're just giving an idea of the different categories. Let's complete all of this. In fact, song, piano, and verbs. I hope this is correct. Yes, excellent, etc. And then finally, there is a Test tab. This is only for students, so it doesn't go to anyone. It's important to explain this to students. which we do obviously when they arrive. It's not being assessed, it's purely for their own self-assessment and measurement of the rate at which they're acquiring the new language. They can do it as many times as they want. Very, very simple to use, as you can see here. Okay, etc. So that's a brief tour of the K+ Tools learning platform. A lot of material here, both in the normal standard K+ Tools levels and also in K+. K+ is particularly useful, I feel. It's very well designed, it's very easy to use, and because students have access to all 5 levels, it means whichever level they are in for their normal class, they can always go back and revise or check things maybe they're not that sure about from a lower level, or they can push themselves by having a look at material from a higher level. And this is all part of the process of encouraging students to take responsibility for their own language development. We are very careful to stress to students that we do not recommend that students spend many hours sitting in front of a computer, particularly while they are here in the UK. There are so many opportunities for real life interaction while they're here. It would be a great pity, a great shame to not take advantage of those. So I normally recommend students to find 15 minutes every day to do 1 or 2 modules from K+ Extra, a little bit of revision from the normal K+ Tools levels, and this, I believe, is sufficient just to keep the language fresh in their minds. I would much recommend this ahead of students spending 3 or 4 hours in front of a computer 1 day a week. A little, but frequently and regularly, I think is certainly the way to go. And with this in mind, it's also worth pointing out that K+ Extra is now available as an additional add-on for post-departure. That means that students approaching the end of their course can pay £20, which will give them complete and unlimited access to the entire K+ Extra and K+ Tools site for a period of 3 months. Similarly, if they pay £40, this will give 6 months access. These are the current prices. Students must register for this and pay for this post-departure access before the end of their course. And it's also worth pointing out that even vacation English students who pay for this extra K+ access after the end of their course, they also have access to K+ Extra, even though that's not part of their access package during their course at the school. If they pay for post-departure access to K+ Tools, access to K+ Extra also features in that, which can be an excellent selling point, I think. Okay, I hope that's been useful. If you have any further questions, please feel free to contact me directly. Thank you.